Hey, welcome to this video. I'm going to talk about how to improve write from dictation in PTE. So if you made it this far, you've done your research, you've done your practice, you probably maybe even took the exam and you're failing your listening and your writing. And you realize that the reason is write from dictation. This is the question I talk about all the time in almost every video. Write from dictation is the king.
Write from dictation.
Write from dictation.
Writing from dictation. Practice all of the dictations.
Write from dictation is the king. Is the question that disproportionately affects your score more than anything else. In fact, if you miss or mess up one of them, it's very difficult to get 79. If you miss two of them, you may or may not get 65. If you miss three, there's no 65. And if you miss four of them completely, you're not even going to get 50. And I've even had students that get like 19 speaking, 85 in reading, 52, 53 listening and writing. And the reason why is because they missed their dictations. So the first step is actually make sure that you know the timing of the listening section. You're practicing different mock tests and you know how long to spend on each question to save enough time for dictation. So the first step is make sure to actually save at least 4 to 5 minutes for dictations, which is about a minute per sentence. If you have less than 4 or 5 minutes, you're going to have to rush a little bit more, but you should still attempt all of the sentences. Otherwise, it's very difficult to pass.
We have another video on our channel about the timing in the listening section, and I'll make sure to link it down below. But in the meantime, let me show you a neat little trick that I teach all of my students in order not to mess up their dictations. Check this out. All right, so when we do the listening section, it's going to be the last section in the exam. And one thing we know for sure is that you will always have either 3 or 4 questions for dictation. Now, what I'll get you to do is I'll get you to pay attention to how many questions you're given here. And you can see you're going to be getting 20 questions in your listening in total. Now, if we have 3 or 4 dictations at the end, what that means is that I want to hope for the best and I hope I only get 3, but I'm going to prepare for the worst and I'm going to get ready for 4. So that means out of 20, 19, 18, and 17 could be dictation. So before I go to question 17, I need to be very careful because it could be dictation. So what happens to a lot of people is they go through the exam quickly, and they don't pay attention and they get here and they're like, oh no, what's going on? Oh, is the dictation? You got only 2 seconds to get ready, boom. And they miss the whole sentence. So if I see question 16 is coming up next, this is when I take a second, I flip my notes to a new page and I get ready to write to make sure I have enough space. And of course, make sure your markers are working and ready to go. Because once you go to the next question, they don't give you a lot of time to prepare. And if I go next, I'm ready to go. I see this is not dictation. Fantastic news. That means I'm only going to have 3 of them, number 18, 19, and 20. So now I'm going to be 100% ready to go and ready to nail it.
Now, how to methodically improve your write from dictations. A lot of people, they go on YouTube. They search PTE write from dictation. They listen to the sentence, they write it, and then they correct it, and they move on. Or they practice in different websites. They do the sentence, they type it, they check the result, they see some mistakes. Oh, okay, they go next. Well, how are you going to remember after the fact which sentences were easy, which ones were hard? You won't. It's impossible. There's too many of them. There's like 600 of them. So here's what you have to do. First of all, you have to find a reliable source of dictations because a lot of websites, they have 2,000 dictations. But actually, when you analyze the 2,000 dictations, a lot of the sentences are repeated 2 or 3 times with different variations. Like 1 or 2 words are different, but most of the sentences are the same. In reality, there's only about 600 dictations which are unique and new. And if you practice this list of 600, I guarantee you at least 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 4 will come from that list. And by the way, I will link it in this video. You can download it. You can watch it for free. And we also have it on our website that you can practice. So the first thing you need to do is you need to print this list from start to finish. That's going to be about 5 or 6 pages. Okay. From now on, this list is like your holy book. You're going to sleep with it under your pillow. You're going to read it on the toilet in the morning. Just kidding. You're going to read it on the bus, on the train, on the way to work. You're going to cry on it. You're going to bleed on it. You're going to sweat on it. It's going to have coffee stains and holes. If that's the case, by the time you're done with your exam, that means you're probably preparing it the right way. So first of all, first step is print out the whole list. Then go on any website, again, preferably a reliable website that you know they have good content, good materials. We have our own platform. I'll link it in the description, but you can go to other places as well. You're going to practice these sentences in sequence. Sentence 1, you listen, you take notes, you type, you submit. This is not good enough to see your mistakes. You need to actually take a highlighter or take a red pen. You need to highlight your mistakes. Okay, so you need to highlight your mistakes. Now, there are some mistakes which are acceptable and some mistakes which are totally unacceptable. So what are the acceptable mistakes? If you miss an S in a word, that's okay. Highlight that S. If you miss an ED or ING, that's okay. Just highlight that word because that's the only word that's wrong. If you wrote, let's say, the word was instead of is, okay, that word is wrong, highlight that word. Or for instead of from, that's okay as well. So what I'm trying to get at is if I have 10 words and I messed up my fourth one, instead of in, I wrote on, that's still okay. Instead of careers, I wrote career, that's still okay. I would still be getting marks for the rest of my words because they're in the right sequence. Now, if you missed a word, let's say I missed word number 5. Okay, let me hide this. I had 10 words and I missed word number 5. Well, now what happens is the rest of the words are shifted over and they're in the wrong sequence. And because of that, it's considered gone. So if you miss any words or you add extra words, not acceptable. Make sure to highlight it with a different color or circle it in red. And then next to the question number, mark it down because this is going to be a question you're going to do again later on. So replacing a word or misspelling a word is acceptable. Adding extra words or missing words is unacceptable. And I know you've probably seen many videos on YouTube that say, look, if you're not sure whether to write singular or plural, write both. You're not sure whether to write is or was, write both. Guys, don't do this, okay? This is the number one reason people fail their exam in listening and writing. And they think dictation is a problem for them, which it is. But it's not because of your performance or your memory or your practice. It's because you're following the wrong strategies from some YouTube guru and you're adding extra words that are affecting the sequence and then you're getting a low score. If you don't believe me, try this right now. Go purchase the PTE Academic Mock Test from the official website. Spend $50, buy a bundle. I want you to skip all of the questions, go only to dictation, okay? Go straight to dictation and do the first version perfectly. You can listen, you can watch some videos, you can get the answers in advance. Only type out the dictations perfectly. And then go and purchase the same mock test again if you want to test it out. Skip everything again, but now follow these tricks from YouTube where they tell you to add multiple variations of words. Instead of Professor Smith is going to be late to today's lecture. Professors, is, was, going to be late later. For, at, to, in, today, today's, lectures. Literally YouTube videos from gurus on YouTube, they teach you to do this. And then submit. And I want you to compare the result when you did it perfectly or when you're adding extra words. I guarantee the results are going to be drastically different. And this is what people don't understand. And they follow a lot of this advice blindly. And you need to think logically. PT is a massive organization. They make millions and millions of dollars from each test center every single year. Do you really think they would let you get away with this? The fact is they used to, and then they fixed it. They patched this issue. You cannot get away with this anymore, at least not for 79. Okay. And if you don't believe me, it's very easy. You're going to spend $50. You can test it out and then come back to me, let me know. And if I was wrong, I will personally delete this video and never post another video related to PTE. But I guarantee the results are going to be drastically different. So don't add, don't skip any extra words. If you do this, make sure to circle that question. And then once you finish the whole list one time, you're going to come back and you're just going to practice the ones that you have too many mistakes where you're replacing or you're adding extra words. So an acceptable rate would be the following. If you got 1 or 2 spelling mistakes or replacements, instead of in, you wrote on, this is acceptable. If you're making more than 2 mistakes or you're adding or missing words, mark the sentence, you're going to do it again. To finish the whole list, to finish all of the dictation is going to take you in total about 5 hours. I know it sounds like a lot. I know it's easier to go on YouTube and search some guru that's going to tell you that you don't need to practice. Just write any words with any variations, singular, plural, and you're going to be fine. Guys, this is not good enough for 79. Okay? If you're serious about passing this exam in one try and you don't want to keep paying $400 to PTE every time, you got to look logically. Which advice is making sense? What I'm telling you right now or writing multiple variations of different words? And one more time, sorry to be repetitive. It just drives me crazy. It's very frustrating when I get students that come to me crying in the office and they're desperate, they're emotionally drained, they're exhausted, they're broke because they keep giving PT every single month and they keep failing. And they fail listening and writing. And the first thing I ask them, did you write multiple words in dictation? Did you add extra words in dictation? And they go, yes. I say, look, you don't need my classes. Go take a mock test, do it perfectly without adding extra words, and I guarantee you it's going to go up. And a good chunk of them, they don't even need classes. They just go straight to the exam. They follow this one little piece of advice and they get 5, 10, 15% higher in their listening and writing. Okay. So finally, You finish this whole list, you've done 5 hours of work. It takes about 5 hours, an hour per 100 sentences to do it like this methodically, highlighting the mistakes, circling the questions. When you've done the whole list again, the ones that you did correct the first time, you wouldn't need to do it again because they're probably easy. You'd probably get them right in the real test as well. But the ones that you're getting wrong, reread them again and again and again. Practice them again, re-listen to them again, because then you're guaranteed to go to the exam and you will remember the actual sentence. Maybe you don't memorize it 100%, but you will remember, I'm missing something here. Let me replace this word that I think I missed, right? And another thing is, listening and watching is one thing, but when you're physically writing these sentences, when you're physically crossing things out and correcting things, this is scientifically proven to help you memorize things, is actually writing things. And personally, there's even some sentences that for me, the first time I heard them, I was blank. Like here's an example. The work of art exhibits more of a demure compositional style. So when I heard it the first time, I got stuck on one of those words, demure, what? Demure, mute, and then I lost the rest of the sentence, right? But if you've practiced this way, and this is one of the commonly repeated questions in the list, in that case, you would probably mess it up the first time and you would remember, what is this word? Oh, demure, D-E-M-U-R-E. Okay, so only by you physically highlighting it and writing it down, you can remember it again. But if you just go next, there's no chance you're going to remember. So this is my piece of advice, okay? Now, as a final cherry, as a final bonus, as a cherry on top of the cake, as they say, once you've completed this list of 500 to 600 sentences, every single month, the PT question bank shuffles, and some sentences are more frequently repeated than others. So for example, for our students, we provide a prediction file. We collect what are all of the questions that all of our students worldwide are getting. And we will assemble a list of the most commonly repeated questions. And then we help them narrow down that list from 500 to only about 150. And when they study those 150, let's say 3-4 days before their exam, usually most of them come from there. Or if one of them is not from the prediction, they're usually from the bigger database of 500 to 600 that, again, I will provide you for free in this video. So this is how to methodically practice. This is how to improve your write from dictation in PTE. Trust me, this is the best way I found. Probably not the advice you want to hear. Because people who are not serious, they just want the easy trick and shortcut without any effort. But if you made it this far in this video, you deserve it. And yes, there is some hard work. But think about it this way. If you manage to nail all 3 or all 4 dictations perfectly, that's 30 marks extra in your listening and writing. Again, it depends on the number of questions and depends on the length of the sentences, but that's 30 or 40 marks extra in your listening and writing. Can you really afford to take this serious, to not take this seriously and to just try some random advice in the exam? Or does it actually make sense to say, hey, here's the list, here's how to study, but you have to do 5 hours of work? It's common sense, right? But again, a lot of people will say, no, this is not true. You know, dictations were easy. I wrote different versions. And then when you ask for their score, they get 50s, they get 60s, they don't get 79 plus. So I'm not preparing you here to get 50 or 65. I'm preparing you for 90. Okay. And if you make some mistakes along the way, but you're practicing in this way methodically, I guarantee you'll get a much better score than before. So sorry to make this video a little bit long, but I hope it was useful. I hope it was valuable. And the materials and the links I mentioned will be in the description of this video and in the comments of this video. As always, for any classes, materials, mock tests, tips, tricks, shortcuts, any help you need from our side, make sure to send us a message. Make sure to visit our website, and happy to look after you and help you pass your exam. This is Alex from Dream English. And if you haven't liked this video, like it right now. Otherwise, I'm going to cry. And I will see you in the next one. Take care.